Welcome to another episode of Dear Strategy, where we answer all of your questions about product, business, and personal strategy. I'm your host, Bob Caparelli. This is episode 136, recorded in January of 2024. And yes, it's been 6 months. I don't know why I keep trying to promise that I'm going to do this on a more regular basis. I mean, best laid plans. It's really terrible of me, right? Especially since I'm a planner and I do that for a living and I preach that for a living. And yet, for whatever reason, for this show, I can't seem to get it together. I think it's mostly because, look, this show is out there. It's not a revenue generator. You know, it's not got the biggest audience in the face of the planet. So it's just kind of me putting some thoughts out there for my clients and customers, who I kind of talk to on a regular basis anyway. So it's a little bit of a supplemental thing. Doesn't take the highest priority on the list of things I have to do. So I end up doing it when I can, when I kind of get inspired, when I have something to say. I guess that's what it's going to be, right? So that's kind of where we'll go with this. But today, I have a couple things on my mind, so I think I'll record a few episodes back to back. So one of the things that's interesting, and actually I do have a little bit of an excuse for having so long of a gap between shows, because I had a flood in my studio, believe it or not, which was quite interesting. So the place where I record, I have, it's a basement, right? But there's half the basement I use for music and audio, and the other half I use for my classes and things of that nature. And the side that I do for music, audio, podcast got flooded out. Nothing got damaged, but just, water came in over a window well and, came down onto the floor, and I had to pull up the carpet and the sheetrock and ended up having to redo the entire space. But it was great because, man, everything really came out exactly what I wanted. It's the kind of thing that you just have something and you don't revisit it for if it's really suiting your most current purpose. And as it turns out, the space wasn't as effective or efficient as it could be. Now it's like everything I want it to be. So it's fantastic. Love it. So really, really happy with that. But I have a couple of things that kind of went along with that. So now I have a space for my music, a space for my audio, a space for my classes and consulting work that I do, and all of that. It's kind of gave me some good grounding in those things. But then there's another venture that kind of came out of that, because as this project was going on, kind of got involved in something else and kind of paired up with a buddy of mine. We do a lot of charity work together, and we're starting a thing. I don't know where it's going to go, but he had an idea for helping graduates, recent graduates, college graduates, prepare more for the workforce. And so the whole thing is going to be called What Now Workshop. So I don't know whether we'll create a company around it, and I'm not sure what we're going to do with it yet. We're doing a pilot of it, kind of a free thing, just to see if it goes over well and so forth. But he had a lot of material around this. I added some on my own. And so we're going to do a workshop about this. But it kind of got me to thinking over the last few months about how unbelievably unprepared college graduates actually are for the real world. Now, man, I know that sounds terrible. Like, oh, yeah, you're about to, rip on our higher education institutions. Yes, I am. I absolutely am. Because I think we got it all wrong. Now, I'm a learner that doesn't learn a lot from books. I learn from doing. And, so I have to get into something and then I'll research it. I'll get, involved in it. I'll try and understand it. And I think a lot of us are like that, by the way. I can't say that everybody is like that, but definitely most of the people that I've seemed to surround myself with tend to learn and thrive in that same way. And so, I look around and I look at the people that I've hired throughout my corporate career and the people that I've worked with and so forth. And I just feel like that's the way people seem to learn the best. Again, at least the ones that I consider to be more successful in their jobs and careers and so forth. And it's not to say that college can't embrace that model. I just think it doesn't, right? I mean, we put people into a classroom, we ask them to memorize things without any context for how it actually gets applied in the real world. What's the most important thing about college, let's face it, is getting that piece of paper. I don't think many people approach college with the idea that they're going to go and learn something, right? They're going to get the degree so they can go and get a job and then learn something on the job. Now, again, maybe that's overreaching, but I think that's pretty much the way that I see it. Certainly the way that I felt when I was in college. I mean, I learned some things, but nothing that I really took into the real world, nothing that I remembered because I had no context for it. It wasn't until I got into the real world and to, the job force that I really started learning a lot. But, again, it's not to say that college can't embrace a different model or that we as a society couldn't embrace a different model. I've often thought that people should graduate high school and, go to work and then kind of try some things out, decide what they might want to do and might want to be, what really resonates with them, what they're passionate about, because you don't know any of that in high school. And then once you try a few things, then if you want to go and get some further education on that, you do. And I don't think it has to be a 4-year degree with all this broad education. So I think it'd be very focused education on the things that you're interested in so that you can get better at those things and you can thrive in those things and you could focus on those things and you could excel in those things. I mean, I don't know. It just seems so obvious to me. But our education institutions are so strong, right? So powerful that I don't know that will ever happen. In any event, with that rant out of the way, here we are with a system where students are graduating from 4-year colleges and they're really not prepared to go into the workforce. I don't even think they're prepared to know what the workforce is or what the jobs are that they want to go and get, right? They just have this piece of paper and now they're thrown into life and they're really not prepared. So what are the things they're not prepared in? Well, one of the things they're not prepared in is how to find a job and how to succeed in an interview. And I mean, I think some universities offer some guidance in this, but again, it seems to be really at the bottom of the list for universities. I mean, that should be kind of at the top. I mean, if you've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in an education and you come out of college and you don't know how to get a return on that investment because you don't know how to go and get a job, wow, that seems like it would be pretty important. But I don't think many colleges really prepare people for that. And even in my own experience with the people I've talked to, my own children and so forth, and they've gone to career centers and things of that nature at the colleges, it's like really weak. I mean, really weak, right? Again, maybe not all, but definitely the ones that I've seen. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement there. The other thing that I don't think colleges teach anything about is life. I mean, all the things that we have to deal with in life, finances, taxes, even simple things like you go to your first job and you have to fill out the forms to try and understand, how you're going to be taxed as you go forward and, health insurance and things the same. I mean, they don't teach any of that, right? And then you get on the job and you ask questions of your employer. And a lot of times, this is terrible, even the employers don't know how that whole system works, right? And the whole idea of, estimated taxes and truing it up at the end of the year. I mean, ask most people in their 20s. I don't think a lot of them are going to know that. And those are really, really important things to be able to succeed. Now, outside of all that, what about people who want to be entrepreneurs, right? Small business owners go out and make money without having to rely on a company, which should be the norm in this country. The United States, for those of you outside of the United States, that's where I'm at, but should be the norm, right? We should be able to go and just go make some money because we have ideas, we have talents, we have skills, we want to bring them to the world. Unfortunately, it's not so easy because you have rules and regulations and taxes and sales taxes and all these kinds of things that you have to pay attention to that even the most experienced small business owners don't know about or sometimes miss. Well, the reason for that is because nobody's teaching them. Nobody's teaching them all of this stuff. It's just unbelievable. You hear it in my voice, how crazy all this is. So, okay, fast forward, I can complain about it, which of course I am and do on a regular basis. But another thing that I could do is try and be part of a solution for it. So we've come up with this workshop that, hey, college graduates come or either recent college graduates or people who are getting ready to graduate college. I'm going to teach them some of this stuff, right? Teach them how to do job interviews, teach them how to pick out the jobs that they want, teach them to understand where their skills are, their passions are, and try and match jobs to that. Teach them about, things like taxes and surviving in the real world and all that kind of stuff, right? That's what we hope to do. And And so again, we're in trial phases here. We're going to give this a go. I don't have a website for it yet. It's really kind of his baby, the buddy that I'm doing this with, his passion, and I'm helping him, but I think we're going to probably end up doing something with it as we go forward. We'll see. So, stay tuned as we, flesh out this idea and see if it works. I'll use this show to advertise it a little bit, as we kind of get a name for the business, a website, things like that. Maybe it's something that your children, you would be interested in, right? Some of the listeners of this show. So we'll see. We'll see how that all goes. Again, early stages. But I thought it was interesting and I thought it was worth talking about. Why? Well, if this show is about strategy, right, there's two pieces to it. One, strategies for colleges. Man, if I was a college listening to this or people from colleges listening to this, I might think about, if you're looking for ways to differentiate, you're looking for ways to get above the pack, you're looking for this system that we have right now, it doesn't work. It does not meet customer needs. And just like any product, if something doesn't meet customer needs, it's ripe for disruption. The whole higher education system is ripe for disruption. I know it's a powerful force, but it is ripe for disruption because it is not meeting needs of the customers. It's not delivering the value. It's not worth the money, and it's not preparing children for the real world. So I can't think of a worse product, right? A more failed product than that. Something's going to give. And if I was part of one of those institutions, I'd be looking at that, right? I'd be looking at this. Maybe something to be learned there. On the other side of the coin, what about personal strategy? Because we talked about that we want to kind of talk a little more about personal strategy on this show as well. Well, big part of personal strategy is trying to figure out your life, figure out your career, figure out your passion, figure out what you want to do, figure out what you want to be when you grow up. And I think this venture, can help with that. And just like I do with strategy, this is a passion of mine, right? I'll make a couple of bucks off of it on the side because I need to make a living, but I'm not interested in holding everything close to the vest here and then never releasing information about it. I want people to know about it. I want to provide free resources, and I expect that I'll do the same thing with this other venture. So hopefully that will come to pass as well. But, stay tuned for that. Think about that. Kind of, if you have anything to say about that, agree with it, you have any comments on it, always looking for feedback, especially at these early stages of things like this. So please reach out. You could always reach us at dearstrategy.net or dearstrategy.com. They both eventually find their way to a website for this show. You can go to the contact link and you can reach out to me that way and tell me what you think about these topics that I'm talking about right now. So I know that's kind of a bit of an episode that's all over the place, but it's on my mind. Good way to kind of reintroduce, the show for 2024 and get some feedback as well. Hopefully we'll see. So while you're mulling all that over, don't forget to make time for the plan. We'll see you back here on another episode of Dear Strategy. Thanks again for joining.